Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we'll be doing a long-range forecast for the upcoming films starting to come out in the beginning of February, as January continues to be the month where films go to die, and there really isn't going to be that much competition for films like Spider-Man No Way Home, or even for the very passionate fan base supporting the Scream franchise. So we'll go ahead and dive into what these numbers are looking like early on, and what that likely means as far as the profitability or lack thereof profitability for said films. Before going any further, though, into these numbers, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a video or live stream goes live on the channel. River is incredibly excited this morning as both she and Willow are fighting in the background, as is typically the case in these mornings, especially when there's exciting news to talk about. So the first film is, of course, Jackass Forever, which is set to come out at the very beginning of February. This film's opening weekend is projected to be around $23 to $33 million, which means this film will likely break even after just one weekend. And the reason why, of course, is the fact that the budget for the film is only around $10 million. Break-even numbers are around usually 2.5 million times the production budget. So 2.5 times 10 would be 25 million. And obviously that would fall within this range here. And their long-term domestic forecast, their total domestic forecast range, has it between $48 and $68 million. So this film will easily make its money back, and it makes some profit to boot, not of course mentioning any other money it makes from overseas. I'm someone who's always had kind of this weird relationship when it comes to the Jackass franchise, because even though I think that some of the stuff that's being done is clearly just ridiculous, and it's just very weird for me to say that I or anyone else finds any enjoyment in people like physically harming themselves, I do have to admit that it is kind of one of those guilty pleasures, I guess you could say, of films where in general there's just a lot of just fun stuff. The characters, the personalities that are at play there, you can just tell that they're all really good friends as well, and I'm glad that they of course always have those warnings at the beginning about, hey, make sure that you don't do this at home. We are people who have trained in this. Also, we have medical staff on hand just in case some things go wrong, and oftentimes they do. So, yeah, I'm actually kind of excited for this movie, I guess, because I don't really know exactly if this is going to be like their last hurrah. I mean, with a film like, Jackass Forever, is this kind of like their last go, since they are definitely getting up there in years? Will this be the last time that they're really able to all come together and do things like this? It's going to be interesting to see nonetheless. But for a $10 million budget, film is expected to make its money back very easily in its opening weekend. One of the other big films set to come out in February is Death on the Nile. This is Kenneth Branagh make of a Agatha Christie film. So obviously Death on the Nile, Agatha Christie, right? There's been plenty of iterations of the story and also of the character of Poirot. I know that Laura, the Modern Major General, and Tina, the Empress of the Universe, who are mods on the channel, are they always love to talk about Poirot. And this is not their favorite iteration of Poirot, but still, Kenneth Branagh is a very talented actor, very talented director, so they're at least able to respect that part of it. But this film is expected to open to $14 to $19 million, and is only expected to make around $45 to $70 million by the end of its run. The biggest issue, of course, with this film is that the budget for the film is around $90 million, which means the film it needs to make roughly around $200 plus million at the box office worldwide in order for it to hit its break-even point. And this has been really kind of one of the key issues when it comes to the Disney 20th Century Studios model, and I would go by extension to say a lot for Warner Brothers as well, is that they've had a lot of issues trying to make films that actually are able to make their money back. And one of the biggest reasons why is even less to do necessarily with the day and date release model, because Disney has not done that for every single one of their films. I think it really more so comes down to the fact that they have spent so much money on their projects. And I think that in some cases they very much overspend on what they would actually need to tell a good story. And so I do think that Kenneth Branagh will probably be able to provide a good story. One of a film that that I thought was actually very underrated was the last Kenneth Branagh film where he played the character of Poirot, Murder on the Orient Express, and I thought that film was actually a lot better than some of the numbers or some of the ratings would have indicated. So I actually think that this film is going to be good. It's a film that I actually would really like to go and see, just because I do like Kenneth Branagh's work. However, it is still a film by Disney. I'm sure that Disney is going to try and get some deal worked out with the Chinese Communist Party to try and help them boost these numbers a little bit. But the film only expected to make around $45 to $70 million in its entire domestic run, which definitely spells some trouble, because unless it has a massive showing overseas, that means that this film is set to be yet another Disney flop, as again, it needs to make well over $200 million in order for it to break even. Some of the other films that are set to come out, Dog. This is a movie about a dog, which of course has me sold, because hey, I love dogs. I got both my dogs. They finally calmed down behind me. This film is expected to only open to $8 to $15 million, $30 to $65 million in its entire domestic run. However, this is a film that likely does not have that much of a production budget. I didn't look this one up beforehand, as I didn't think about it beforehand. That's why I do these things live. I do these things live because why not? This is the film starring Channing Tatum, though. So I've seen the trailer for it, and it actually looks like an interesting story nonetheless. But it's a story that I think we've seen before. U.S. Army Ranger Briggs tasked to bring Lulu, a Belgian Malinois military working dog, down the Pacific. Again, I feel like we've seen stories kind of like this before. I believe that this was probably based off of a true story, or maybe at least inspired by a true story. By the way, also Kevin Nash is in this, which is awesome because, hey, it's Kevin Nash. Ethan Suplee, always great to see him in there as well. No budget for this film, though, so it's going to be hard to say whether the film's going to make money or not. However, based on the fact that this seems to be and comes across as a lower budget film, probably does not need to make as much money to break even. However, still needs to make probably needs to make a little bit more than what is projected to make of $8 to $15 to $30 to $65 million domestically in order for it to break even. Probably the biggest release set to come out in February that we have numbers for is the movie Uncharted. So this is a film starring Tom Holland. This has gotten a lot of controversy simply because of the fact that many people who are fans of the game have said Tom Holland just really does not fit the character of Nathan Drake, that there's a lot of questions going on about the film, and as far as whether or not it's going to be really true to the game, whether or not it's really even worth being told at this point. It is a film being run by Sony, though, and so Sony has had some pretty good success as far as being able to make films that make money, not necessarily making the best films out there, but Uncharted has a huge task ahead of it because the film had the largest budget on the list of films that we talked about today, with $120 million, meaning that the break-even number for this movie is going to be around $300 million worldwide. The film's only expected to make $25 to $40 million in its opening weekend, and is expected to make $65 to $105 million total domestically. So this film's going to need to make, let's say it does the best case scenario domestically, it makes $100 million. That means the film will need to make $200 million overseas in order for it to hit its break-even number. I think that the marketing campaign is there. There's definitely trailers that are all around for it. I think it's being promoted very, very heavily. So maybe these numbers do adjust. Maybe it does open up a little bit higher than these early projections seem to indicate. Again, Box Office Pro puts these early numbers out there with the caveat that, hey, these are just based off of what we currently have as far as pre-sales, social media campaign. You know, they have their own formula, their own metrics of how they're able to come to these conclusions, and these numbers always adjust over time. And of course, they give these ranges because of the uncertainty of the market, etc. But I still think that even if the film does tick up quite a bit, I only think that there is only so much range really that this film has as far as how much more it could possibly make in the long. Like, what if it makes $60 to $80 million in its opening weekend, and that boosts its domestic to a total of, projected total of $150 to $180 by the end of its run. It still needs to make well over $100 million overseas, and there really isn't any indication at this point that it's going to be a massive hit overseas. And so it'll be very interesting and intriguing to see if Tom Holland is going to be able to have any type of name recognition. Mark Wahlberg's attached to the project as well. So are they going to be able to, as actors, bring people to go see the film? Well, I really, again, doubt that, just because we kind of are seeing ourselves, especially during the midst of the pandemic, with a understanding, and it's really becoming to the forefront, that actors really don't sell movies anymore, right? Actors really don't bring people out to the theaters in the droves that they used to. It really comes down to, hey, is the story being told, or is it a story being told that seems to be worth telling, that seems to be worth going out to actually go see in a theater, to actually spend that premium to go see it in a theater, to pay for the popcorn, the drinks, and everything like that, to have that whole movie-going experience does it seem like it's going to be worth that, or is it something that I would much rather wait to come out on online, whether that's through legal or through piracy means? I mean, that really comes down to be what the ultimate question is in the midst of the pandemic era that we are living in. And I just don't know if the trailer, at the very least, for Uncharted has really been able to garner enough hype or garner enough love from whether it's fans of the game, casual fans of gaming, or just people who have nothing, like people like me, who know nothing really about the Uncharted franchise, because I've never played the Uncharted franchise. I don't really know anything about the Uncharted franchise. It really comes across almost like a, Lara Croft Tomb Raider film in a certain way. At least that's how, again, it comes across based on the trailers as they are being presented. So I don't really know if that's a film that I really have that much interest in, because I've already seen a film like that before. Even though I do think Tom Holland is a talented actor, and even though I do like the likes of people like Mark Wahlberg, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of questions about this film. Not to mention, of course, it's based off of a character that is produced by Naughty Dog, and everyone knows, of course, Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, that whole shebang going on. So do I really even want to go and support a film like that? Knowing that some of the money is probably going to go back to the likes of people like Neil Druckmann. He is not listed as a producer here, which is definitely a good thing, but it's still something I think nonetheless that is worth mentioning, is worth talking about. So anyway, these are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Are you excited for any of these films set to come out? Again, Uncharted expected to come out mid-February, Death on the Nile set to come out a couple weeks into February, and then we have films very early on coming out, like Jackass Forever. Again, really, it's interesting that, and it's sad in the same time, that the movie I'm most excited about on this list of films that is set to come out and that we have some early projections for is Jackass Forever, right? It's like what, fourth or fifth film in the Jackass franchise. It's just kind of crazy that is where we are in the current state of movies. And I think that it's also a great commentary on the modern state of Hollywood, that they are not being able to produce and create new, original, unique stories to the point where we would rather, because it does provide escapism. That's one of the things I think why Jackass franchise has survived as long as it has, is because it provides pure, unadulterated escapism. Now, I think that there's definitely some positives and negatives to that, right? Because again, we are finding joy in the pain of others, and I do think there's a part of me morally that's just like, I just don't really think I can feel that way about it. It's kind of like this internal struggle whenever I go to watch these films and to see what goes on. But again, I think that there is actually a much deeper story here, because it really just showcases that we are so hungry for escapism that much more people are going to be willing to actually want to go out and support something like this, watching people hurt themselves, than to go see a film like Death on the Nile. Again, as you can see from those numbers there, this film is expected to do better than the opening of Death on the Nile, and actually is even within striking distance of a film like Uncharted. So films that have much higher budgets it's expected to do a lot better than. And so I can't really say I'm surprised, though, because we do have this hunger within us for escapism. And if this is the place that we have to go to, at least for a short-term at least a short-term bit of release, to be able to say, okay, yes, this is the type of escapism I'm looking for, hey, you got to take what you can get at the end of the day. But what are y'all's thoughts about this? Let me know if you have any thoughts about Jackass Forever, Death on the Nile, Dog, Uncharted, or any other films that I've mentioned on the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, lap that fire button on Odyssey. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my January Patreon Subscribe Star and Locals members. Starting first off with Locals, shout out to Kara Tharp, UAB Mad Dog, Mike Jackson, Biffer DeHobbit, and Robert Barnes. Thank you all very much for supporting me over on the Locals platform. Also a shout out to my Subscribe Star people, UAB Mad Dog, Mike Jackson once again, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stan 4, John B, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for supporting me over on the Subscribe Star platform. And lastly, to my Patreon supporters, my 30 Patreon supporters over there, animation commentator Brandon, let's go Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Hannibal Grimm, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle, 79, Lance, Laura, The Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Allen, Stan Andrian, Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Benden, and Tina Bojan, and of course, Tina B, the Empress of the Universe. Thank you all so very much for your love and for your support. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and at the end of every video, please make sure that you support me over on a Patreon, Subscribe Star, or on Locals. Also, you get a ton of other goodies if you support at the Army of Asgard level and above. Starting at the Army of Asgard level, you get access to various giveaways that I do during the month, including various 4K titles. Many of them 4K Steelbook titles, and so if you want access to that, check out the Army of Asgard level on those platforms specifically. You also get access, once you are a Keeper of the Bifrost level member, to that, plus a podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where you actually get to ask us questions, and also, of course, get access to that and the library of previous podcast episodes. We're up to about 33 episodes now that we have been able to do. I think most of those episodes now at this point we've actually done it together, which has been a lot of fun. And of course, you can join at the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, Chosen of Valhalla live stream level, where you get access to not only all of those things, but also you get access to be featured on the channel once a month during the Chosen of Valhalla live stream with the other Chosen members, which is always a lot of fun. Also, during your first month, you get a free t-shirt sent anywhere in the world. You just let me know your size. Let me know the t-shirt that you want from the store over on Teespring or on TeePublic, whichever you prefer, and I will gladly send that out to you if you're at that level. Anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.